Good afternoon, welcome to a very wet and miserable Craven Park here at Barrow. Barrow team already out on the field. We await the arrival of the Cougars, and of course quite an interesting afternoon so far. The Cougars coming out now, just pick up the point in a moment. Led out there by Captain David Creaser. And the teams for this afternoon, the Cougars. The Cougars taking the park at the moment, as I said, the fullback Keith Dixon in place of the injured Andre Stoop. The three-quarters Andy Ayres, Nick Pinkney, Simon Irvine and Neil Kenyon. The half-backs David Creaser and Chris Robinson. In the forwards Ian Gately, Jason Ramshaw, Steve Hall, Darren Fleary, Gareth Cochran and Martin Wood. The substitutes for Keighley, Darren Appleby and Brendan Hill. And for Barrow this afternoon at full-back Pat Traynor, the three-quarters Richard Blackman, Steve Ashcroft, Chris Honey, Gary Westwood in the three-quarters, the half-backs Phil Atkinson and Mike Kavanagh, and Stuart Quayle, Paul Crary, Sean Morrow, Gareth Keir, Stuart Rhodes and Andy Wally in the forwards. William McPherson and Stuart Howard as substitutes for Barrow. The referee this afternoon is Mr. Lee from Tildersley, which I believe is near Manchester. And of course the interest point, as I said before, and just arrived up here on the gantry with us, is the former Keighley coach Peter Rowe. He's just walked round underneath the shelter of the stands and received a tremendous reception as he's come round from the Keighley Cougars fans. Very nice to see that, recognising that the former coach who took Keighley, of course, as you will remember, to the third division championship a couple of seasons ago, or one and a bit seasons ago, warmly received by his former fans. The man in the middle this afternoon has said Mr. Lee, a newly promoted Grade 1 referee to the Stones Bitter Championships Division 1 and Division 2. Just talking about it, letting the players get absolutely wet through in the middle there, and we hope he spends less time talking during the game and letting the game flow. And just prior to the game, late this morning, about 11:30, I'm told that Peter Rowe, only having 16 fit players, 3 at least out with broken bones, finds that Neil Shaw, his loose forward, called in at the very last minute to face the Australians at Workington, and so is reduced in strength to 15 fit professional players, our first team squad players, a position that he found himself in on a number of occasions last season at Keighley. But here we go then, Mr. Lee checks with his touch judges, gets the whistle in his mouth, and off we go, kicking deep into this corner, and the ball going into touch there. Steve Ashcroft, the number 3, allowing it to go safely into touch, a position that he'll be quite reasonably happy with, bearing in mind that it's going to be the Barrow head and feed from this scrum. And in fact that's a penalty to Keighley. Differential, we wait to see what the signal is. Well, there's no signal present there from Mr. Lee, this newly promoted Grade 1. Not sure at all. It was obviously some sort of infringement in the scrum. So Ian Gately takes the first drive as Keighley win that scrum, as one would expect. Ramshaw then on to Steve Hall, back in his number 10 shirt after one game in the second row last weekend. Ramshaw going on his own, switches inside to Fleary, back from injuries, Darren Fleary, and the Barrow defence up to it at this moment. Ramshaw spreading the ball back inside, Robinson having to readjust there as he had to grab for the pass. And well, the knock-on there, and I think that's one of a number of knock-ons that we're going to see this afternoon. It's very, very wet out there. The field, there's an enormous puddle on the centre spot, and I think both sides are going to be forced into errors that brought about by the weather rather than any individual ability. possibly that could be to the advantage of Barrow, because the weather today certainly could be a big leveller. Ball went back there, so the referee, in fact Ramshaw comes up with it. Stolen the ball. In fact, Mr. Lee indicating that Jason Ramshaw pinched the ball after having already indicated that the ball went backwards. Well, that's one for the books, I suppose. So then Barrow look to build on this now, having the advantage of the penalty, make the 10-metre line through hooker Paul Crary. And I think percentage rugby is one of the things that's going to be called for right from the very beginning. Percentage and respect of possession. And Keighley caught offside there, just inside their own half. Creeping inside. Creeping inside the 10. That ball safely into touch. 25 metres out from the Keighley line. And here comes Richard Blackman going into the centre of the park, looking to set the things up for the move, and still walking, but I think the referee must obviously have called held, because he's penalised Blackman there for not playing the ball. A little bit of over-enthusiasm there from Richard Blackman. As the ball safely into touch on the opposite side of the field. This time it's Ramshaw for Keighley. And certainly I think this man, if he ever makes the big league, as the word is about, I think the man, Mr. Stevenson, will have a field day with him, as he certainly very, very popular blower of the whistle. Oh, the whistle's very popular with him, I should say, as Steve Hall has to be, well, in fact managed to offload there to Pinkney, but Pinkney tied up still 10 metres inside his own half of the field. And Robinson now looks for Fleary, but decides to take the ball in himself. And Ramshaw now on to Gareth Cochran, the second rower signed from the Hull Academy in the close season. Great things expected of him. He was an international in the academy, and that's a kick into no man's land, which begs the question of the wingman and fullback Pat Traynor, but Pat Traynor, very, very experienced player here at Barrow. And Barrow secure the possession on their own 20-metre line. The weather causing the lines to fade on the field, and quite expectedly, I feel sure, as Stuart Rhodes now there for Barrow. Certainly those who watched the tapes last season will recall that Stuart Rhodes had an exceptionally good game. Was unfortunate, I suppose, in a way, to have been sin-binned early in the game for a debate about a try. I think that Joe Grimmer supplied the final pass for being forward. But certainly did cause Keighley a number of problems last season on the visit up here to Craven Park. So that kick through there, finding touch 30 metres out. Robinson eventually manages to get the ball in, finds Andy Ayres. There's one thing for sure, I'm fairly certain that Barrow coach Peter Rowe will have done his homework. A lot of the players he doesn't need to do the homework on, having done the coaching for a couple of years on most of them. He knows the strengths, he knows the weaknesses, but more than likely, in fact, definitely the game plan changed somewhat since Phil Larder arrived at the club. Cochran putting that ball down, Barrow regathering, 10 metres inside the Keighley half. And Keighley's initial problem, I was going to say, was possibly respect of possession, and as the words were being thought, exactly the same thing happened there with Barrow, and this is Keith Dixon Stepping through the centre of the play, good yardage there by Dixon, following the pass from Irvine. Robinson very much alert on the situation when the ball was lost there by Barrow, as David Creaser now takes up play. On to Martin Wood, outside, looking to go outside, but not being tackled, not being put to ground. And Barrow are certainly going to have to smarten their ideas up if they're going to stop Keighley running tries in with the tackling, which was poor to say the least. Well, that ball striking the Barrow foot and being wiped back to one by the referee. Robinson's kick through as Ramshaw now finds the ball out there to Ayres. Ayres finds Cochrane, and Cochrane's in for his first try for the club at senior level. That was really a case of swift hands, but I think the run through the centre of the field through Keith Dixon and taken on there by Martin Wood after the ball had been spilled 10 metres inside the Keighley half. That's where the try originated, and Gareth Cochrane finished it off. So then Simon Irvine perched out on the, well, 10 metres just less than from the touchline side with this conversion attempt. Got the ball set on the 20-metre line. As the rain continues to come down here, we do have the protection of a better gantry, I have to say, than we have down at Keighley, but nonetheless we still amount of rain coming in as Irvine plants that ball safely through the middle, just proving the worth of what a goal kicker's all about. As we said before, Keighley been lacking in the goal kicking area, but since the arrival of Simon Irvine to the club, that problem more than adequately solved. Fleury working his way back to the 30-metre line then from that restart. And it's Robinson, finds Andy Ayres. Ayres wandering his way across the field, but there's no way through that Barrow defence for him at the moment. Ramshaw switches play back outside to Steve Hall. And the referee penalising Barrow there for holding down. The Barrow player complaining that Steve Hall in fact was pulling down on the shirt, and for his challenge gives him another 10 metres further upfield where the penalty comes from. David Creaser puts the ball into touch. Jason Ramshaw.
Tell them goal boys to put the ball on the line.
As Gately drives in. Robinson on to Steve Hall. Hall brought to ground just inside the Barrow 20 as Ramshaw gets the ball across, and the ball comes back this way to Pinckney, but Pinckney losing his footing. Tackled about 5 metres short, but in fact the Barrow player being called out there. It looked as though, I thought perhaps he might have dropped on Pinckney with the knee, and I think, well, the referee says it was a flop. I would have thought it was a late knee, but nonetheless, whatever the decision is and whatever the reason for the decision, it's a penalty to Keighley, and Simon Irvine being called up to attempt to convert it into points. Successfully does. 8 points to 0 Keighley lead. about 14 minutes or there on the clock.
Get him flat! Get him flat, Richard!
So then Robinson feeds the scrum from that kick through by Barrow, successfully once more out of the back. Andy Ayres, as always, taking the ball in from that far side of the field towards the centres. Dixon now invited to join the line from the full-back position. And Ramshaw finds Martin Wood. Wood steps, gets Creaser away. David Creaser going, but looks outside for the support of Kenyon. Neil Kenyon, the winger, though, having gone inside. And it's Kenyon now, gets the ball infield to Ramshaw, onto Robinson, finds Martin Wood in the centre of the park. Delays the pass to Cochrane, but Cochrane adjudged to have provided the shepherd there for Martin Wood. Penalty then to Barrow for that shepherd by Gareth Cochrane. And safely into touch on the far side of the field. Restart then by Barrow and Keighley, all offside in front. Gareth Cochrane, the man, not only gave away the penalty with the shepherd, but having given away the penalty there for being offside. And Barrow, quite rightly, looking to get 2 points on the board. The old adage being very true, never get into the 20-metre area without coming away with points on the board, or at least attempted points. Phil Atkinson, the standoff for Barrow, with the responsibility, and as many players using now, he too opts for the kicking tee rather than the pile of sand. There's the 2 points for the indiscretion of being offside by Gareth Cochrane. So Barrow on the points. Phil Atkinson gets the 2, and it's 8 points to 2 in Keighley's favour at the moment, and we've got 16-17 minutes on the clock. Robinson to restart. Straight down the centre of the park. Barrow working their way away from that danger area of theirs. Into the centre of the field now, and some 10 metres or so from the halfway line. Gareth Kerr gets up, plays the ball back to the ginger-haired Andy Worley. And the standoff there, Phil Atkinson caught in 2 or 3 minds. Eventually the ball gets away.
I don't believe that. You blackpot.
Well, the touch judge is on there.
You bloody dickhead.
To Jason Ramshaw. We wait to see the result of this, but in all honesty, that touch judge was on a very, very late indeed. I think the ball had gone through 3 or 4 Barrow hands before the touch judge even came on. In fact, the referee now calling the touch judge back.
He don't know, he didn't see it.
In fact, he's not. He calling him Paul Crary, the Barrow hooker, but well, That penalty then to Keighley being given on the intervention of the touch judge.
On the line, son!
And David Creaser finding there's no way that we can see anything of the pictures up here for the Barrow assistant coach being in the way. As Keighley now get towards the Barrow line, just inside the 20-metre line, approaching the 30 as Dixon in possession on this side. Tackled 10 metres short. Kenyon gets the ball inside to Robinson, on to Creaser. Creaser, long ball out to Martin Wood. But good cover tackling there by Chris Honey for Barrow on the far side as Pinkney looked to go through. And I think Pinkney going to be called out this time for lashing out in the tackle. So I did say right at the beginning that Mike Stevenson would have had a birthday with this referee on his Murray whistle blowing. And I think, well, we just wait, because we've had something like 20 minutes now of the first half. And we've certainly heard a fair amount of Mr. Lee's whistle. Nothing wrong with that there as Stuart Quayle gets up, plays the ball to himself. Good thinking, because there was no way he was marked. Both Keighley players at the side of him. An interference there of a combination between I think Chris Robinson and David Creaser, holding down in the tackle, giving Barrow another penalty 10 metres inside the Keighley half. So Blackman takes the ball in towards the centre of the field, onto the Keighley 20-metre line. A switch of play there by Hooker Crary to Sean Morrow. Missing out 3 players there on the way across. Stuart Rhodes coming onto the ball. Certainly 2 or 3 drop-offs there as the ball went across the field, as Atkinson gets the ball back in now to Honey. This is danger time for Keighley. They've really got to keep things tight here, and the ball chipped through. Robinson doing the rescue act there on that Keighley line. And now it's Simon Irving going to be asked to take the ball away. Referee Lee ignoring the slap across the face. And Simon Irving just wondering what on earth it's all about. Simon Irving asking the question, in fact saying that it was led by the head. Well, it's giving Barrow another opportunity of 2 further points to reduce the arrears, and David Creaser, the captain, coming up just to ask for an explanation from Mr. Lee. Safely through the centre for another 2 points for Barrow. That's 8 points to 4 now, the trail. I think the gentleman on the tannoy for Barrow, if he gets much more excited, he could, well, have a problem with himself. To Robinson then, restarts for Barrow, deep into the 20-metre area, down to winger Richard Blackman. Blackman again, as most wingers seem to have these days, from restarts and from scrums really, the job of driving the ball in and towards the opposition and towards the centre of the park. Honey gets up, plays the ball. Ball released in the tackle there, and It's a Barrow number 11, Gareth Kerr there, brought down some 20 metres from the halfway line as Stuart Rhodes leads the charge towards the halfway line, but he too dragged down a dozen metres short. Last tackle coming up as Barrow have struggled to get many yards upfield, but that's a kick which finds touch just outside the Keighley 20, and we'll be seeing a scrum going down there with Keighley's head and feed. Ayres once more. "20 metres from halfway as Martin Wood gets the ball out to Pinckney. Pinckney well stitched up there. Certainly the Barrow defence have been warned about his ability and his speed, although I don't think they'll need any advice on that one. His reputation to score from anywhere on the field certainly gone before him for quite some time, as Ramshaw eventually gets that ball away to Keighley, spins round to Robinson, back to Fleury. Fleury through the centre. He hasn't got the legs, but the support's arrived. Gareth Cochrane, though, tackled the option of the two centres on his inside, not being taken. And in fact, it looks like there's a sin bin coming up here from one of the Barrow players there for what I think is going to be described as a professional foul. Well, the referee, I think, got the yellow card out. Or has he? No, he hasn't. He's put it back in his pocket. He must have been going for his hanky to wipe his nose. As Creasy gets the ball across to Ramshaw. Martin Wood finds Keith Dixon. Dixon steps inside and goes round underneath the post, slides to a halt and scores the try. I suppose that, well, that definitely came from the indiscretion of the lying on by Barrow, not allowing the Keighley player to get up. The ball moved across field very, very quickly, outstripped the defence of Barrow. Dixon on a very heavily overloaded side on this left with the Keighley attack. One of maybe three players who could have gone in. Keith Dixon it is who gets the four on the board, right round behind the post. And that one coming on 26 minutes. Simon Irvine then settles himself in front of the sticks. The ball in the accustomed pointing, slightly pointing forward mode. Successfully through the middle, over the stand, out of the ground. Puts Keighley into double figures. $14 points to 4, the scoreline currently reads. As Atkinson gets play back underway for Barrow, straight down the arms of the receptive Jason Ramshaw, 20 metres out, that drive from Darren Fleury. And the ball raked back, all on, says the referee, the ball being put down, but I have to say there were certainly 4 Barrow players there at that mark. You're only supposed to have 2, and yet Mr. Lee allowed it to continue. The error forced there on the Barrow player by Fleury, more than adequately making up for having lost the ball at the play. Robinson then feeds the scrum from that knock-on as Martin Wood Breaks from the scrum, he's looking for the support, it's too quick away from the mark for Robinson. He did have airs outside him. And it's out now to Creaser. Creaser on to Ramshaw. Ramshaw finds Cochrane. Cochrane to Pinckney. Pinckney loses the ball. And I think, in all honesty, that's only about the third handling error we've seen in that particular area of players on the move losing the ball, and I expected a lot more than that this afternoon. Well, managing to offload there in the tackle. And Atkinson probing and prompting down the centre. Mike Kavanagh on there to Stuart Rhodes. A dozen metres inside the Keighley half as the last tackle comes up now. Kavanagh hoists. Well, I thought he was going to hoist it. He just kicks for the corner. Finds touch, a metre inside the touchline. And in fact, we're looking now for a substitution for Barrow. It's Gareth Kerr coming off. It's William McPherson coming on. So McPherson on, Kerr off. And the subsequent reorganisation that will have to take place in the pack, I hear, is that McPherson will drop into standoff, and the standoff Atkinson will drop into the loose forward spot. Loose forward Andy Wally, of course, dropping up into moving up into the second row. 25 metres from the halfway line on this full-size Craven Park field, the full 100 metres try-line to try-line, according to the field markings, that is, as Ramshaw gets 10 within 10 from the halfway.
Ball marking 2, wedge in!
Robinson out there to Pinckney on the outside. Pinckney still going down that far side. Gary Westwood, the winger, on the far side, brought into this Barrow squad at the last moment. Not doing the tackling as Ramshaw gets the ball out there to Wood, but the ball going through the hands. The referee says it went forward. Well, the crowd on the far side disagree, and I have to say that I concur with that disagreement, because the ball went straight through the hands and continued moving backwards. Just noticing in the back of play that David Creaser limping on the right ankle. He's picked up the defensive role of full-back, and Keith Dixon having gone into the forwards, into the stand-off position. And that was a knock-on as well. The pass not the best in the world, forcing the knock-on. So then, Keighley now got the opportunity to build from that Barrow mistake from the scrum as Robinson gets the ball out onto Dixon. Dixon finds Pinckney. Pinckney just steps and strides, but again not able to get into gear. It's got to run straight or run in a swerving arc. You can't sidestep on conditions like this today, as Robinson gets the ball from Dixon. Gately feeds the ball back to Robinson, and he's brought to ground 15 metres from the Barrow line. Martin Wood this time. Dixon still going. Lost balance going to ground there as Ramshaw this time feeds Hall. And Stuart Rhodes penalised there for what referee Lee said was a tackle in the high area. So then what's Keighley going to do here? Ramshaw. Well, David Creaser, the captain, not called in. David Teese not called into that, I don't think, initially. There was both Ramshaw and Nick Pinkney involved, and Simon Irvine strode up, took the ball from them, and now about to attempt the goal shot.
Okay.
Which is expected, straight through the middle. Puts Keighley those 2 points further ahead. "16 points to 4, the scoreline reads, and at long last, and to the applause of the Keighley spectators below us, gets Simon Irvine's name right. Ramshaw gone off the field, Darren Appleby come on, going straight, no doubt, into the number 9 spot. But I don't think Jason Ramshaw's gone off. Jason Ramshaw's there at acting half-back to my eyes. Appleby forward pass a mile there to Nick Pinkney. Pinkney going down the wing side, but brought to ground and tackled into touch there by Pat Traynor. Obviously the shot obliterated from the vision, or from our vision, by the people on the front of the gantry. I don't think we're going to suffer from that problem in the second half. We've just got to put up with it for the time being, as that scrum formed. Even I can't see it by wandering round the back. Just inside the Barrow 20, Keighley caught offside. The Murray whistleblower strikes again. So I have to say, he did miss the forward pass from Darren Appleby that fed Nick Pinkney's charge up this touchline side. That's good touch finding penalty there from Barrow, almost to the halfway line. As Quayle drives through. Both Ian Gately and another Keighley player there feeling the weight of Quayle's drive through. And there's just a little bit going in there. I think it's Quayle just getting a little bit over enthusiastic and excited. In fact, no, I'm sorry, I do apologise. I do him an injustice. It wasn't Quayle. It's certainly one of the Barrow forwards there, getting very excited and over enthusiastic, boring in to the Keighley player there with his head. That hooker Crary being called out, but so is Jason Ramshaw as well, so no doubt the touch judge are judging that it may well have been 50-50. Ended along with discussion with referee Lee, although he is speaking to Crary a long time. In fact, I don't think he even spoke to Kavanagh. I beg your pardon, I don't think he even spoke to Jason Ramshaw. Gives a penalty to Keighley for the use of the head, and I do agree that that was the correct decision without any question. So what the point was of calling Jason Ramshaw into the discussion or not, unless of course Jason was just here with him. But this is Keighley now coming back into the Barrow half of the field. Ian Gately has the ball knocked out of his hand. Didn't. Oh well. We wait to see the picture on that one, not having the benefit of the replay, but it didn't look to me there as though the ball had been lost. So going to scrum then just inside the Barrow half of the field. "16 points to 4 the scoreline. 38 and a half, nearly 39 minutes on the running clock as we approach the half-time break. Keighley scores in the first half, coming from tries from Gareth Cochrane, and from fullback Keith Dixon. 4 goals from Simon Irvine, and the 2 penalty goals for Phil Atkinson, the reply for Barrow. It's Barrow just inside the Keighley half of the field. Crary gets the ball inside there to the loose forward Andy Worley, and the ball out there to McPherson, the substitute with the headgear. 15 metres inside the Keighley half of the field. Kavanagh puts the ball high for the chase. The referee says all on. Dixon fails to take it, and the motion, has it taken him over? It has. Keith Dixon failing to take that ball. A tremendous kick by Mike Kavanagh. Well, there's certainly got to be a question mark against Keith Dixon there, because that ball should have been secured. It was a good high ball. It was a good high ball, but full-backs should take those. Keith Dixon failed to, I'm afraid. Gives Barrow another 4 points to take the score to 8, with the opportunity of going into double figures just before the break. Atkinson safely through the middle to go into double figures. Gary Westwood then credited with that try for Barrow, as Robinson restarts. Back to the try line almost, as Worley takes the ball away, searching for the 20-metre line, the almost invisible 20-metre line now. Blackman, it's his turn to take play up, and Crady gets the ball out there to number 8, Stuart Quayle. Oh, no way, referee. I'm afraid that there was a marker present there, that is for sure. Certainly there was a tackle in the head area, but my words, Mr. Lee, there was definitely a marker present at that. Stuart Quayle getting away with absolute murder with that one. So then the ball into touch there by Atkinson. 30 metres from the Cougars line. It's tackling time now for Keighley as they approach the break with just that 6-point margin now. I thought the weather may have been a leveller, and it certainly can't be pleasant playing out there under these conditions, but that's what rugby league's all about. Whether you like it or not, it's a winter sport, and those are the ravages that you've got to put up with as Atkinson takes the ball, or tries to take the ball into the Keighley 20, but he's brought down right on the mark. Out the far side to Stuart Rhodes. Rhodes running in at the Keighley defence. Tackle though, 10 metres out, and the chip kick goes through. It strikes the Keighley foot, and in fact the foot of the Barrow player just must have touched the line on the far side there as he went to pick that ball up. The touch judge raised the flag, so we'll go down to scrum, what will almost inevitably be the last scrum of the game. I've actually got nearly 44 minutes on the clock. Ayres takes the ball away to the 20 as Robinson now finds Dixon. Dixon drives forward, clears the 20-metre line as he goes, and Ramshaw acting half-back onto Hall. Hall drives in, 30 metres out, 3 tackles used. Hall gets up, plays the ball. Ramshaw goes on his own, finds Martin Wood in support. Wood drives through, 5 metres from the halfway line. Robinson Waiting at acting half-back as Mara making an absolute meal on there, laying on all over the place. Stuart Quayle, the guilty party. In fact, it was a knee. Well, the referee's spoken to Stuart Quayle twice, and I just wonder how many times he does have to speak to a player before he does anything about it. In fact, has he spoken to him twice or even 3 times? Ramshaw then gets Keighley in. Keighley drives in, breaks into the 30 area for Keighley, as Ramshaw still waits patiently as the 2 Barrow markers stand side by side there. Steve Hall taking the ball in, but there's the hooter. It's a half-time break. The referee calls for the hold. 16 points to 10, the half-time scoreline reads, as everybody goes in for a well-earned break, and we wait to see what the outcome of the second half is. Half-time score, Keighley Cougars 16, Barrow 10. Barrow retake the field then for the start of the second half with the scoreline, as you recall, 16 points to 10 in Keighley's favour. The entourage of the Barrow bench making its way over as well. We await the arrival of the Cougars just coming back from the dressing room. So the hooter sounded to test for the referee to hear. He gets his whistle into action, and the play goes as Fleary drives the ball forward from the initial pass from Robinson, breaking out of the Keighley 20-metre areas. Kenyon now in the centre of the park. Always going to have trouble at this side of the field, but now moving away from the obstruction of one of the Barrow staff as Keighley gets play back underway now. Cochrane, half ankle tapped as he went through there. Robinson takes the ball from Ramshaw, finds Hall, but I think possibly Robinson expecting the player on his shoulder, not actually getting there, or maybe even shouldn't have been there. Robinson kicks that ball forward, finds touch on the Barrow 10, and I think that's what Keighley will be aiming to do in this second half. Certainly on the last tackle we'll see Robinson kicking for touch into the corner and pushing Barrow back downfield. That's a good set of 6 from Keighley, right from their own try line, right to the opposite end of the field in 6. Okay, so we're going to scrum. We expect to see Barrow come away with the ball, but that's positive play as far as Keighley are concerned. Now the objective is, of course, to keep Barrow penned in their own half in this set of 6. As Blackman look to get away. Simon Irvine and Darren Appleby doing the initial stop on Blackman, and this is the substitute, McPherson. Into the centre of the field, and the referee pulling out. Who was he pulling out? Steve Hall? In fact, no, he's pulling out Quayle, I think for leading with the elbow. The referee's certainly telling the Barrow captain as well that's what he's done. And Irving going to be called. Yes, there we go. Leading into the tackle with the elbow, Stuart Quayle. Being penalised for it. And one suspects it's going to cost Barrow another 2 points. Southern Irving successfully strikes it through the centre of the post. Just minor adjustments to the camera position so that we can try and get round the bodies of these people on the front edge. As Atkinson restarts. Darren Fleury driving back. Ramshaw onto Robinson. Robinson finds Kenyon. Kenyon coming down this side of the field, I think. Having to look through legs and all sorts here to see where we are as Stevie Hall now takes the ball back into the centre of the field.
Number off, Stuart, County.
Ramshaw to Robinson, misses out Cochrane, finds Gately. Gately gets the ball out to Irving on the far side. The Barrow defence sliding across quickly there. Broke down the Keighley movement now as Robinson gets it back into the centre. Appleby looking for Robinson on his left, but Robinson was on his right, in fact. This is Robinson this time. He's puts the ball out flat. The referee says it was forward. So we'll find a handover. It was the last tackle. Robinson feigned as though to kick. Decided on the option out to Andy Ayres, but unfortunately, well, the ball, I think, in fact, was flat, and a flat pass is not a forward pass. But he's made a mistake there as the referee. That was the last tackle. It should have been a handover to Barrow. But Barrow nonetheless get the ball from the scrum, but from the set from the scrum rather than from an attacking position from a play the ball. Booker Crary brought down 10 metres without making any further headway forward on his own, on the 10-metre line inside his own half of the field as Kavanagh gets the ball out there to Rhodes. Rhodes up, plays the ball. Kavanagh offering the ball, but switching eventually back inside to fullback Pat Traynor, and Traynor brought to ground on the last tackle, and Barrow made something like 7 or 8 metres forward in that set of 6, and Atkinson puts the ball over the far side of the field straight into touch, and that's going to be a scrum. Referee correct on that occasion, the ball going into touch on the bounce rather than on the full. So it's a head and feed to Keighley here. Kavanagh trying to convince the referee that it should have been the Barrow feed, but Appleby gets the ball away to Simon Irving, and Irving not properly tackled there by Chris Honey, and substitute McPherson manages to get away back into the Barrow half. Appleby gets the ball out to Robinson. Martin Wood halfway through the hole, but has to get the ball back to Robinson. He finds Gately coming through. There had to be a little bit of imagination there from Keighley, the move having broken down, as Robinson now finds Fleury. Fleury driving in, but well met there by the Barrow tacklers just inside their 30-metre line now as Ramshaw onto Robinson. He finds Appleby, runs around with Robinson. Cochrane on the end of that one. I have to look actually that on these final passes the referee, Mr. Lee, is not looking at the play much as looking at what is happening by the side of him. That's a good pressure kick by Keighley, and is it a try? Looks like it is. Yes, it is. An equally good pressure kick there by Keighley, resulting, I think, in Steve Hall getting the try. We wait and see, but there was pressure there applied on the Barrow fullback in similar fashion to that which they applied. Confirmed on the tannoy that it was Steve Hall, but similar sort of kick there from Keighley as they hoisted the high ball, and the pressure put on the fullback similar to that they applied to Keith Dixon in the first half. Steve Hall getting the touchdown. That try coming then 7.5 minutes into the second half. Simon Irvin then with the conversion attempt, about 10 metres to the left-hand side of the uprights. Through the middle, safe as you like.
Get your legs up! Come on, boys, come on, encouragement, come on! Twist it! Twist it! That's it now. That's it. Defense.
Atkinson then gets the ball away straight to Robinson. He finds Fleury, and the Keighley number 11 drives back down 30 metres from the halfway line before being brought to ground. Martin Wood steps inside, but dragged to ground. Robinson now out to Appleby. Appleby stepping back inside, looking for a hole through the centre. Half ducks through, but not able to get beyond 5 metres from the halfway line on that penetration, as Martin Wood now feeds Cochrane. But Cochrane does extremely well there to break into the Barrow Braves half of the field. And Robinson now. Robinson skips inside, but the option closed for him. The crowd on the far side in the stand thought they'd seen something. The touch judge said he'd seen nothing. The ball high in the air. Now, did it touch a Barrow player? I thought it did. The referee has a different idea. But no matter what happens, the ball's being spilled. "25 metres out then, as Barrow now try to work their way away towards the halfway line, but being driven back. Quayle offloading though in the tackle, and the supporting player managing to get within 15 metres of the halfway line before going to ground. Cabana, dear me, Mike Cabana there. Well, he's just looking to his players and saying, where's the support? But in all honesty, as a scrum half, you've got to try and make some play as well. Last tackle coming up 10 metres inside their own half still, Barrow, as they get the ball back then to stand-off Atkinson, who kicks the ball deep into Cougar territory. Keith Dixon on the end of the kick. He's got Kenyon on his outside, but he's going to come infield and run away from the support. And this is Kenyon now from the acting half position, scooting round the outside, looking for a way through that Barrow defence. And again the crowd over the far side suspecting they'd seen something. The touch judge completely unmoved. And Fleury again now. Short pass from Appleby.
Chasing Ginger. Up. Come on, Shaw.
All out this side. Martin Wood brings it back in field. 10 metres inside the Keighley half, still his players. Robinson looks to penetrate the defence. Dragged to the ground, assisted back down again after the tackle had been made. No assistance from referee Lee on that occasion, and that's a good kick. It's a good kick because it's not going to find touch, and it means that Barrow are going to be pressurised back into their own 20-metre area. Good chase. Blackman bringing play back inside. The Cougar cry momentarily going up from underneath the Stratton shed at the end of the field to our right as we look. Gary Westwood tackled. Kavanagh on the run round there with Atkinson. Ball moving into the centre of the field as Rhodes gets the ball back to Kavanagh. Kavanagh finds Honey on the far side. He feeds the ball out to Blackman. And tackle into touch there by the Keighley winger Neil Kenyon. Eventually the scrum settles then as Kenyon gets the ball from Robinson, works his way in field. And there's a flop from Blackman. As Dixon looks to put the ball into touch. Ramshaw, well, just waited to see who was going to come there for the drive. Certainly Keighley totally disorganised on that set, looking for the man. Eventually it's Kenyon who had to take it. Keighley coming from the drive in a short position as the ball not played quickly at all. And Keighley injured, but he's going to get up and play that ball. The referee actually stopped the clock. He's going to have to allow that to be taken again. Referee restarts the clock as Keighley plays the ball. Then Ramshaw offers the ball out there. Martin Wood, well met by the wingman Westwood, who come inside, but Ramshaw now setting it up as Ayres has an eye on the defence as he went for the ball, took his eye off it. Barrow say thank you very much indeed. Regather and Andy Ayres going back in to do the tackling. On the Barrow 20-metre line as they come forward. We've had 14 and a half, nearly 15 minutes of this second half. Scoreline 24 points to 10 in Keighley's favour. And Quayle gets up, plays the ball. Crary gets the ball onto Kavanagh, and Kavanagh yet again does his pedantic going to sleep job in the middle. Well, we can certainly see that Barrow definitely need a scrum half, that is for sure. Mike Kavanagh certainly not an organiser and certainly not a distributor. Ball put to ground, gonna go forward. Well, in fact, gone forward. So the scrum will form some 15 metres inside the Barrow half of the field. Robinson then feeds the scrum, has difficulty getting it in. Eventually it's dragged into the scrum by the Keighley forwards. Appleby feeding Pinckney, but Pinckney only coming on at quarter pace there to take that ball as Appleby switches play back to Robinson. Now to Martin Wood. Wood steps back inside, but well covered there by the Barrow defence as Wood tried to step back inside. Ball played then quite untidily. Robinson taking a pass, not the best of passes to him, as Steve Hall now drives backwards towards the Barrow 20-metre line. Gets up, plays the ball to Ramshaw, on to Robinson. Robinson finds Appleby. Appleby operating in the stand-off position, but Pinckney taking the ball on the full there, but knocking it forward. So the scrum forming on that Keighley 20 at the on the Barrow 20 at the far side of the field. It will be the Barrow's head, it will be their feed. Mike Kavanagh will be the man to feed the scrum. And I think we can expect Blackman getting the ball from there, which indeed we do. Martin Wood just think possibly been a bit lucky not to have been penalised for holding down there, but Mr. Lee seemed to have relaxed that particular offence. Good tackling there by Pinckney and Ayres. And in fact, Sean Morrow, the former Millham player, just adding a few extras there after he'd been tackled. As Carrera gets the ball away to Kavanagh. Kavanagh finds Atkinson in the centre of the field. Looked to offload, but decided that security was a better option, as Kavanagh now with the ball on the last tackle, pumps it deep upfield. That bouncing back in field now. So it's Kenyon sliding as he goes to pick the ball up. Runs straight into the arms of Chris Honey. And Kenyon on to Robinson. Robinson finds Dixon in support, but the Keighley fullback being held there by three of the Barrow forwards. Now it's Fleary. Fleary bursting away, but still this number 14, Willie McPherson, certainly been in amongst it this afternoon since he came on. Appleby tackled just short of the halfway line. And Robinson on to Cochrane. Cochrane finds Dixon in support. Dixon's looking for the inside ball to Simon Irvine. Good call there by Irvine. Good take. Robinson, though, on the end of the Irvine tackle, but the pass adjudged to be forward. Call back. Well, Mr. Lee was on the spot there, but so Kavanagh then to feed this scrum. Out then to them onto McPherson, but well wrapped up there by Appleby and Irvine in the centre of the field. McPherson. Honey gets the ball out to Atkinson. Being pushed back. Well, the referee's called held, but did nothing about it as Keighley continued to push the Barrow players back. And it's 10 metres from the halfway lines. Ball going over the far side. Kavanagh finds the supporting Stuart Rhodes, who strides through. He's got play on the inside with Kavanagh, but Keighley tackled back well. But certainly a good break there by Rhodes as Kavanagh goes for the chip through in the chase, but Steve Hall drops on the ball. Accepts the cover tackle from Steve Ashcroft whilst he settles things down, gets his defence back around him to set up from that defensive area inside his own 20-metre line. And Cochrane's hand caught there as the Barrow player struck for the ball. In fact, Cochrane's eye it is by the look of it as Gately tackled. 20 metres from the halfway line, inside his own half of the field. Eventually the ball played as Barrow managed to creep up inside the eyes of referee Lee. And it's Appleby. Ramshaw onto Fleary. Fleary going up the centre of the field, looking round as he gets into the opposition half. Mr. Lee raises his arm for the last tackle as Robinson gets the ball, puts the ball down to that corner of the field. Into touch. In fact, it doesn't go into touch. That's a tremendous kick there from Robinson, and a good chase by the Keighley defenders, taking the Barrow player into touch. A tremendous chase there by Keighley. A super kick from Robinson, holding up on the damp turf just inside the corner flag. This is going to be a Keighley head. It's going to be a Keighley feed. It's on the Barrow 10-metre line. Keighley have got a set of 6 here to build on to get extra points to add to the 24 they've already got on the board. Robinson now from the scrum finds Kenyon. Kenyon going in field, setting the thing up. The wedge is deep on this side as Appleby feeds the ball inside to Irvine. Irvine gets the ball. Initially thought it was going to Ramshaw. It went to Robinson as Fleary drives for the post, brought down 2 metres short. 3 tackles used. Ramshaw acting half-back, Dixon on the foil. In fact, Cochrane running for the ball there on the switch and being driven back. This youngster, quite lightweight for a second row forward, easily being driven back there by the Barrow defence. Appleby losing that ball. In fact, Keighley losing it. In fact, everybody's losing it. The ball, in fact, although spilled by Keighley, went backwards. A substitution going to take place at this side. Loose forward Andy Wally coming off, Stuart Howarth going on. And that ball won in the scrum by Barrow. But the referee not satisfied with the way, in fact, the scrum had been formed, and still not satisfied, insisting they go down again. There are about 10 minutes left, I make it, in this game for Keighley to add to the score of 24 points to 10 that they currently have, as Carreri feeds the ball out this side to the winger Gary Westwood. Carreri onto Cavanagh. Cavanagh runs around there with substitute McPherson, but the ball going back there, the wheels coming off the Barrow wagon at the moment. Black trainer managing to sweep up as the ball goes out now there to Steve Ashcroft on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side of the Barrow attack, and it's the last tackle taken, the kick taken. Keith Dixon said the ball went. Keith Dixon knocked back. The referee said it did go backwards as that kick was kicked through.
Here we go, keep working, come on,
Robinson to Appleby. Appleby finds Pinckney on the outside. Pinckney looks to come through. Not able to get the ball away or even evade the tackles, and a flyer went in there from Gary Westwood. He didn't make contact, but certainly the intention was there. Referee just having a quick word, telling him to leave it out.
Come on,
in fact, substitution now for Keighley. Ian Keighley leaving the field. Brendan Hill going to take his place. Brendan Hill takes the place of Ian Keighley as Keith Dixon puts that ball safely into touch on this near side as we look. Ramshaw. Jason Ramshaw sets things up as Ayres drives the ball into the centre. Barrow know that that's the initial drive. There may be another one coming. And Steve Hall now taking the ball into the Barrow 30-metre area, approaching the 20-metre line before effectively being stopped. Ramshaw finds Brendan Hill, the man with no number, in the 20-metre area for Keighley. They search for, and that was an awful pass there from Ramshaw. Stops everything in mid-path. And again, Mr. Lee looking to his right there as that tackle was made. Missed the tackle around the head. Irving gets the ball out on the far side, meanwhile, to Martin Wood, but Martin Wood tackled on the 10-metre line of the Barrow defensive area. Ramshaw now onto a better pass to Robinson. Robinson finds Appleby, but a good tackle and the ball lost. Great tackle there by Paul Carreri on Darren Appleby. means the ball being lost. And Sean Morrow driving the ball away, but being driven towards the touchline side as he goes. Chris Honey caught in two minds there, eventually manages to offload the ball to McPherson. He gets up, plays the ball, moves it out this side. Kavanagh gets the ball out there to Crary, but Crary runs still straight back into the arms of Fleary, and it's Quayle now driving up the centre of the field, but Fleary around the ankles, Ramshaw around the top. And Quayle and Ramshaw just exchanging one or two things in the middle of the field. I think Ramshaw initially complaining that Quayle had hit him in the tackle. But the touch judge pointing at Ramshaw, whether indeed he's saying that he did something, we don't know. We've got Steve Hall in there as well, so maybe Steve Hall's taken over the role of the captaincy since Dave Creaser went off, telling Jason Ramshaw to keep quiet. And this is the third time, in fact, that the referee has spoken to Stuart Quayle for a long time, and yet again he's sending him away. But I think he's going to give him a yellow card, is he? He's looking for something. Oh no, it's a blood bin card. Giving him the blood bin, that's what's happened. And Keighley wanting to make a substitution. Ian Gately coming off. On, I should say, Martin Wood going off. So then Quayle gone to the blood bin. He's got 15 minutes, but not that there's 15 minutes left in the game.
Come on, Harry, get in here, come on.
Ramshaw then brings the ball back for this tap restart, gets it on to Brendan Hill. He drives in first, but there's three Barrow players waiting for him there, goes down to ground, gets up, plays the ball to Ramshaw. Ramshaw out to Robinson. He finds Hall in the middle of the field, and Hall tackled on that 20-metre line. Barrow urgently calling the defence across. A knock-on going to be indicated by the touch judge. Steve Hall can't believe it. He thinks the ball was assisted. The touch judge at this side certainly indicated to referee Lee that the ball had been spilled by Steve Hall. Ball out there. Kavanagh gets the ball. Steve Hall breaking very quickly from that scrum.
Stuart, apprenticeship, you've done your job. You're serving your apprenticeship.
Westwood.
Tell him you're not qualified. Let's drop on the field.
Stuart Road gets the ball away there to, looks like Stuart Howarth, is it? And again Kavanagh gets the ball out, this time to Atkinson. Atkinson though brought to ground 10 metres inside his own half of the field. Plays the ball to himself, deliberately ran there into well, he deliberately he deliberately ran in there into Gareth Cochran. Gareth Cochran got out of his way. The player stopped. He moved another 4 or 5 yards, certainly more than 10 anyway in total. Cochran tackled him again, and Mr. Lee penalised Cochran for being offside. Well,
come on then, let's get it up.
I suppose you can't make excuses for Grade 1 referees, even though they are newly promoted. As Barrow now take play into the Keighley 20. Crary looking for a way through, but there's no way through for him there, as he's tackled just 15 metres from the Cougars line. Ball moving across through Cabana. Cabana escapes the arm of Steve Hall. And it's over the far side through Atkinson. Atkinson onto Chris Honey via Sean Morrow. And Barrow launch an attack through Cabana, but Robinson's arms there waiting for the ball, just like a slip catcher, takes the ball. And Brendan Hill having to take the ball from acting half there. Would have been far better occupied being on first receiver and driving it through, but he wasn't, as Robinson gets the ball away to Steve Hall this time, and that's how you make yardage when you're on the move. Brendan Hill very much standing still when he was standing still because he had to bend down first to pick the ball up. Cochrane tackled just outside his own 20. Robinson on to Gately. Gately driving through the centre of the field, trying to offload but not able to do so. Gets up, plays the ball. Robinson kicks the ball forward. That's a good kick. Again, it's good. In fact, it goes in touch. He takes the kick to the right this time. So Barrow finding themselves inside their own 20-metre area, defending but attacking this scrum. A few of the Cougar supporters going down there, urging them on to launch themselves into the attack. The game, in fact, drawing to, I think, I won't say a miserable close, but certainly not an inspiring close. It's been a bit like the weather as the game today. OK, Keighley are going to get the points at the end of the day, the same as did last week at Barrow, but not convincing again against what you might only call honest but lowly opposition. Not able to handle it the way in which they didn't seem to have the answer last week at Bramley when they were being wedged into the centre of the field. Crowder gets the ball across field and into the centre there to Atkinson. Atkinson offloads to McPherson. McPherson taking play into the Keighley half of the field as the Bloodbin substitution returns to the field for now certainly Barrow need to remove one of those players from the field. It looks as though it's Gareth Kerr coming off as Stuart Quayle's gone back on to take his place in the pack from the Bloodbin, and Robinson finds Appleby. Appleby finds the ball out there to Dixon. Dixon's got Kenyon inside him, but the pass down at Kenyon's knees. Keith Dixon there had Kenyon coming on his inside, but the pass down at Kenyon's knees, the winger unable to take it, as Keighley now look to contain Barrow inside this half. And the second half being very disappointing as far as the Keighley fans have been concerned. Not any nothing positive, and that really looked like a knock-on to me up here. Gareth Kerr going on to replace the injured Paul Crary. No, in fact, it's not Crary, it's the winger, I believe. Gary Westwood who's coming off. That's Kerr who takes the ball, and that's Fleary who does the tackling, assisted there by Nick Pinkney tackling back. Ashcroft gets the ball in field to Kavanagh. Kavanagh puts the ball upfield. And it's Keith Dixon met by the chase, a good chase there by Barrow, containing Keighley inside their own 10-metre line. And it's Andy Ayres now looking for a way through. Kavanagh's initial tackle striking the chest and riding up as Ramshaw gets the ball out through the hands of Robinson to Hall. £10 points to 24, the scoreline in this second division match here at Craven Park, Barrow, as the game drifts slowly to a close. Cochrane driving towards the halfway line. Last tackle for Keighley, still inside their own half of the field. Ramshaw to Robinson. Robinson will kick for that corner. Over the top of Blackman. Staying in field, a metre from the touchline as Blackman has to do the running out. And he's running closer and closer. That's inexperience for you if ever there was one. You never run towards your own goalpost and run across the field and towards your own goalpost. In fact, tackled over the line, so that was a tremendous chase by Keighley, and I have to say, well assisted by the inexperience of Richard Blackman on the wing. Not only running across the field, but back towards his own try line. Should really have just taken that ball in. Cochrane takes that drop out, a good drop out under the conditions. 5 metres from halfway line, gets the ball out to Kenyon on the far side of the field. 15 metres from the Barrow line as Steve Hall drives in. He's got one try this afternoon in the second half, along with two Simon Irving goals that's given Keighley their 8 points in the second half. Hill runs round with Robinson, he finds Dixon, Dixon steps inside, but there's a crossing movement there. Gives the penalty to the referee, just being quizzed by Chris Robinson as to what the crossing was. Ball into touch then, 32 metres, 33 metres out. As Kerr goes in, drives in 10 metres from the halfway line before being brought to ground by Cochrane and Fleury. Crary tackled 5 metres from the halfway line. And Kavanagh runs round there with Atkinson in the centre of the park, but the supporting player there, well met by Ramshaw and Hall. Supporting player Stuart Rhodes. And Howarth gets the ball out the far side to McPherson, but he too brought to ground, still short of the halfway line. Kavanagh again in the centre of the park to Atkinson. Atkinson goes for the chip through and the chase, picks it up well, he's got support. Atkinson, he's got Rhodes, not Rhodes, in fact Kerr outside him. Good tackling back there by Keighley, but still Barrow keep the ball alive as Kavanagh goes back inside. I think it might have been the wrong option for him there. He did have the support on this side of centre Steve Ashcroft. But it's the last tackle coming up as Kavanagh now chips through again. That strikes the Keighley boot. Hits the body of Dixon. Well, that's a bad decision by the referee, because Dixon's arm's nowhere near that ball. It hit his chest. He dropped on the ball. It should have been a Keighley play the ball there. It's just a catalogue of errors really by this man this afternoon, Mr. Lee. As I said earlier, he's newly promoted to Grade 1, but his mistakes that he's made for both sides have been pretty abysmal. Barrow losing the ball on the first tackle there. Knock on by full-back Pat Traynor as he joined the line. So we go to scrum. Ayres going over the far side, throws the ball down to the feet of Simon Irving. Kavanagh gets the ball out there to Atkinson, tackled in the centre of the park. Again Kavanagh asking where the support was instead of having to switch back inside, as Howarth now drives towards the Keighley line. Well into stoppage time, at least by my watch. Barrow going through there, Gareth Kerr. And it's Ashcroft at acting half-back, waits to get the ball, gets it in field to Kavanagh. Kavanagh finds, who does he find? He finds Stuart Rhodes. right in front of those Cougar posts. It's the last tackle. And Cabana chips the ball inside. It strikes both Keighley and Suck, in fact both Keighley and Ramshaw on the boots. The referee said it was a knock-on. That was his final error, because thankfully the final whistle has gone. The final score here at a very wet, very dismal and very miserable Craven Park Barrow is Barrow 10, Keighley Cougars 24. Keighley have got the points, but again, like last week, a disappointing performance against, as I said earlier, lowly but honest opposition. I think possibly Peter Rowe, the Barrow coach, will be very, very pleased with the performance of his side this afternoon, considering that previously they've had one or two hammerings.